we live yet? I don't.
We are live now.
Great. Hey everyone, welcome to today's recurring TELx Council meeting. It's April the 1st, 2026, so let's get started. On today's agenda, we have the TELx Council overview, recap of the last meeting, the pools update / Merkl status, the TELx / Telcoin Holdings internal calls status update, network update, and Q&A and next meeting details. So starting with the TELx Council overview, these recurring meetings provide several critical functions for our governance, provide transparency to our community, create structure for our forum, provide authors the ability to present their proposals to the council and community, allow the council and community to review, debate and refine these proposals so they can get to a place where we have consensus and mutual understanding, provide a medium for regular TELx ecosystem updates, ensure consistent communication between council members and the community, allow the community to directly engage in Q&A with the council members. The TELx Council is a local governance organisation with authority over and duties towards TELx operational rules, system health and social well-being. Overview: to accept, develop and vote on TELx IPs, to change or introduce new elements to TELx, to alter TELx harvesting rules, and be responsible for generally representing the interests of and informing their constituency in matters pertaining to TELx. Duties: the TELx Council is required to 1. Plan, finance and coordinate implementation of improvement steps. 2. Regulate the flow of TEL issuance to allow TELx to be harvested by liquidity miners. 3. Introduce, alter and enforce TELx operational rules, including harvesting information and community maintenance and construction. 4. Inform miners of the activities and outcomes related to TELx and results from any snapshot votes. These snapshot votes are a requirement for all council members, and in order for a proposal to move forward, there needs to be a 5 of 6 majority vote, and all 6 members voting within 5 days from the start of it being posted to snapshot. And with that, over to Eric for a recap of the last meeting.
Yes, I'm up. The last meeting, it was a rather short meeting, but here goes a short recap also. Last time we had a discussion about Uniswap V4 pools versus Merkl, with a technical workshop plan and some fine-tuning on Leo scoping documents still to be done. We briefly talked about the objectives and the need for defined success criteria before proceeding with Merkl. And there was also some uncertainty about attendance and scheduling with Merkl, which may have delayed the upcoming meeting, but Merkl appeared ready to begin development. Broader discussions we had then highlighting upcoming stablecoin incentives and the need for strategic alignment on this, including the need for clearer direction and clear mission definition, which we talked about quite a lot then. From then on, we went on to the topic of pools, where we discussed how V4 pools are underutilized by aggregators, which appear to have most volume going to V3 pools. And we discussed that aggregator limitations and risks related to V4 hooks were identified as key adoption barriers, and the council agreed to keep an eye on this for future ongoings. And then in this context, we also discussed the necessity of hooks as a whole, with Merkl potentially reducing their importance and risks coming with them. Compliance guidance then stressed the need for NDAs and formal agreements when working with third-party vendors like Merkl, and the council acknowledged this as their first external vendor engagement, which requires the need for structured contracts. A follow-up meeting with stakeholders is scheduled to align on strategy and the next steps for this point. And the meeting concluded with agreement on the need for clearer direction as a whole and more decisive progress in future sessions. That was a short recap. So back to you, Boo.
Thanks, Eric. That's very thorough. Okay, we're going to start with pools, but not Uniswap v4 pools this week. We've got some Balancer news within the past 2 weeks. Now, you may have caught it, but Balancer recently announced that Balancer Labs, the company, is shutting down. The Balancer protocol, the DeFi AMM, is not shutting down. The project's undergoing a radical restructuring towards full decentralization. So, in summary, Balancer Labs is shutting down primarily due to the $110 million hack and ongoing exposure last November, and because there's no sustainable revenue model. The protocol survives but shifts to DAO control, and Balancer are now proposing a full economic reset, which includes ending all BAO token emissions and phasing out the VE BAO governance model. The next 12 months are seen as critical as to whether Balancer can recover. Now, based on this, the TELx Council need to decide whether to continue with Balancer in the short term, as there's currently 3 TELx pools on Balancer, and whether creating any new pools on Balancer is worth the risk going forward. As you may recall in these meetings, we've mentioned Balancer reclam pools in the past, although they were not introduced on Polygon. Now, it's not the job of the TELx Council to propose which technology is used, so we're in the process of reaching out to the TAO to provide a list of suitable alternatives. Andrew, I think it was you that reached out to the TAO or sent an email off. Have we heard anything back yet?
That's correct, yeah. I think we heard back from Leo in Slack that the email was at least received. Obviously, it's a little bit of an undertaking to kind of look broad level at, all of the partnerships that we could potentially forge forward with. And I know, obviously, coming up, we have the Easter long weekend, so there's no update to provide today. But hopefully the next time we meet in a couple of weeks, we'll have a little bit more of an update from the TAO, and we can have a little bit more of a clearer discussion as to where we want to head moving forward, what partnerships we want to try to lean on, and kind of go from there.
Sounds good. Okay, anything else on the Balancer side of things before we move over to Merkl?
Yeah, I'd just like to share the screen for a minute. Just looking at
Okay, we can see.
okay, because it kind of alters what I see. Just looking at the 3 Balancer pools and the fees that were generated over the last 24 hours compared to the Polygon V4 pool, we've still got a lot of liquidity locked up, but the volume's dropping off. I didn't do a snapshot on what it was before the announcement, but while we do have a lot of liquidity locked, the volume and the fees are kind of less than the volume that's been generated through the 2 Polygon pools on Uniswap. So I don't want to preempt anything, but we should be probably just monitoring that with a view to, I don't know, maybe de-risking our exposure on Balancer just while this transition happens. That's really the point I'd like to make.
Yeah, it's certainly worth taking a screenshot of the current values and do the comparison, say, in 2 weeks' time, I think.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay. Thank you, Ty. If there's nothing else on Balancer, I'll just move over to Merkl. I have a very short summary before I open it up to everyone else. So legal formalities are being finalized. The integration is technically ready. Data access is shifting from CSV reports to API-based delivery, so quite a big change there. And additional analytics capabilities are coming soon, pending clarification. So if anyone wants to expand, Leo, Andrew, Ty, or whoever.
Yeah, I was
Go
just
for it.
going to dive into that transfer from the CSV to the API difference. So the big difference there is instead of seeing the data points and all that kind of stuff on a week-to-week basis, we'll be able to see that information almost live. So in talking to Baptiste and seeing the conversation with him and Leo, it sounds like we're talking like maybe hours before the live data is ready. As opposed to waiting for that calendar week to finish running a script, all that kind of stuff. So from that perspective, a lot more real-time data, which is not only great for the trial that we're going to be doing, but if we do decide to partner with Merkl moving forward, then we'll be able to see that data a lot faster and get the community up to date and have a little bit more insights and visual to what those potential rewards are going to be for that week. So I just thought that was a good point to bring up.
Okay, so that's great in that we can get their stuff at any point. Do we need to do something? Obviously, we get our own spreadsheet once a week at the moment. Do we need to do anything so we can get our data at any point?
I don't think there's anything on our end that we need to do from that. Maybe it's a conversation that we need to have with Merkl about how that gets distributed, whether or not like we kind of see how things are going throughout the week and you have an idea of what your level of incentives are going to be, and then it gets distributed still on a weekly basis, or if they're able to distribute live, similar to what the old TELx pools kind of on balance or do, where they accrue in real time and are distributed in real time. I'm not sure if that's something that Merkl can do, so maybe that's a follow-up question that we can bring up with them.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else on Merkl?
I was going to suggest we can still get the CSVs going. We'll just pull the data once a week, and we can distribute those if people want. And then we'll be doing it anyway to kind of compare. So happy to pop those in the Discord or wherever, as and when if people want.
Yeah, that's what we needed, I think. Okay. Is
Yeah,
there somebody
totally
else
agree.
there?
Yeah.
So where's the roadblock at the moment? Is it us signing off the service agreement, Leo, or is that with Merkl?
Yeah, I'm chasing Tim to okay the service agreement. Basically, we gave Merkl one, and they sent us a different one back. So I'm checking with Tim if that's workable for us. So just dropped him another message now. Hopefully it won't be long till we know and we can get things moving again.
Okay, cool. And the invoicing, are we agreed on the 6 monthly periodic payments, or is it one hit at one time?
I think 6 months. I need to check the contract actually on that front, but yeah, that's what was discussed. So I think we'll stick with that.
Okay. I mean, we have the funds, obviously, but it just obviously the conversion into USD or EUSD or USDC is price dependent. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just a bit of an efficiency thing. Give the price as much time as possible to bounce back.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Okay. Anything else on the Merkl side before we move on? Okay. So the TELx team or council had a meeting with Telcoin Holdings. So on Monday, 23rd of March, we got together with Paul to discuss the council alignment with Telcoin Holdings, really to ask for some direction going forward. Now, the exact meeting contents are under NDA, so we can't speak about specifics. However, I think we all agree we had a glimpse into what's coming and we're all very excited. We all know there's a lot going on and it's going to be a busy year. The key takeaway from it is that we've identified a need for regular meetings between the TELx Council and Telcoin Holdings. And we've suggested once per month, or at least arranging the meetings and seeing who's available for those times, where we ideally also want to invite Parker and Grant, because it was just Paul on the meeting with us on Monday. How did we leave it? I think someone was booking a date in the diary, or is that still to be done?
Yeah, no, I sent out the monthly invite. I think a few of you have already accepted. I haven't seen Paul's response back yet. But to your point, yeah, we want to get obviously Parker and Grant involved too, just from a higher level, to get a better understanding of how we can collaborate and continue to, strengthen the partnership between the bank and obviously the network and the association. But yeah, the plan is to have those monthly meetings. And again, at the end of the day, I know we talked about this internally, but even if we only have half of those meetings and, we get to talk to, Paul, Grant, and Parker for an hour 6 times a year, that's a lot better than, what we've had in the past. So.
And you did invite Grant and Parker, I assume.
Correct. Yes. And Leo
Okay.
should be on there as well too. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was essentially
Not
sent
Leo
to
as well. All right.
yeah, it was sent to the TELx Council, and to Paul. So in the TAO email, I think it's Grant, Parker, and Leo.
Okay.
I was going to bring that up just to remind them at the meeting that was earlier today. But with everything that was getting discussed, it kind of slipped my mind. It was still very early and I was only on my first cup of coffee. So but Parker and Grant were in the room at the same time. So I was just going to mention it to them. But, by the time everybody had finished discussing what they were discussing, the opportunity had slipped away, I'm afraid.
Yeah, time just doesn't wait for any man, does it? Okay, that's probably it on the TELx Holdings call. So that was the Monday. On the Wednesday, we got together to discuss everything. I want to now go on to what we've put in as the network update. And I'll ask Eric exactly what he meant as he put in the titles here. But I want to go over a conversation that Andrew had with Grant in the Platform and Treasury Council. So as it specifically pertains to TELx. So there's some questions and some answers which really help with our direction. So are incentives only for Telcoin network transactions? Yes, that's the current understanding, but not officially finalized. The expectation is that incentives will primarily reward activity on the Telcoin network. Final decisions will be made by the TAN Council and developer governance. Question 2. Are transactions on other chains such as Polygon and Ethereum to be incentivized? Likely no, or much less so. Other chains may still be supported, but they're not the focus of incentives. The goal is to drive users and activity towards the Telcoin network. Question 3. Will liquidity incentives be Telcoin only or multi-chain? So a mixed approach, not fully decided. There's value in supporting liquidity across multiple chains to onboard users and maintaining accessibility, but the Telcoin network will be prioritized as a main destination for liquidity and activity. And the last question, question 4, how will Telcoin balance multi-chain support versus its own network? So Telcoin will maintain a presence on other EVM chains for reach and onboarding, whilst making the Telcoin network faster and cheaper and a better UX. The primary place for DeFi and incentives, where the strategy is really to support externally, but concentrate value internally. So in summary, Telcoin is expected to be multi-chain in access, but single chain in priority, with incentives, growth, and DeFi activity, all centered on the Telcoin network. So Eric, I've not had a chance to speak to you before you put the agenda up. Was that what you were meaning, or did you have something else you meant completely different?
Nah, I think your questions pretty much summarize it a lot. Why I put it on the agenda is because there's so much, I really got enthusiastic over the last weeks because there's so much going on within the association behind the scenes with testnet. We we got a unified web presence. We had a talk with holdings. So a lot of things are coming together, and I think mentioning all these items together here or in the next 10 call, it's it shows how much is happening, and I think it's great to be aligned also with holdings, and a lot of positive things coming up in the next weeks and months. So pretty enthusiastic about the whole. But your questions pretty much summarized it pretty okay. Yeah.
Okay, well that's the end of that section. I guess we probably should have had a miscellaneous section. So does anyone on the council have anything completely separate to bring up today before we go to Q&A?
I suppose we probably ought to discuss the things we talked about as far as like the future of EXYZ and supporting that via TELx, deprecating the USDC EMXN pool and establishing an EUSD EMXN pool, so that as a proposal probably I can put that one together probably pretty quick. If we think that would be sort of next steps, at least incentivizing that USDC pool doesn't seem to make much sense at the moment.
If you can put a proposal for that. So just to summarize, that's replacing any of the TELx pools that have USDC with EUSD. Is that correct?
I think that should be obviously the goal as we get things going here with the bank launch in a couple weeks. So that would be my opinion. I don't know how the council feels about that, but any thoughts?
I think if you can get proposal together for internal discussion next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Unless we meet, but I don't think we're planning to meet before that. Then we can discuss that there.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, on to Q&A. So have we got anything on the stream at all? I guess that's all quiet.
Not this time right now. There was a question about the V5 wallet. Just a reminder again, that is a Telcoin Holdings developer app that's not in the purview of this council. So we're not we are not aware because it's not our side of the business, and two, it's a separate entity. So if we did know something, which we are not because it's not our part of the business, we would not be able to disclose that anyways. So those are questions for Telcoin Holdings. And this is the Telcoin Association TELx call specifically about liquidity. There's another question here. This is a network-based question, so I suppose I can answer this. But again, if you're listening, this is a liquidity pool-based local governance call. But this is as you move through phase 2 and into phase 3, do the in-progress projects speed up given the previous projects that are completed? I'm assuming you're speaking about the network roadmap. It's all subjective based on the task at hand. It's not really a one-size-fits-all answer. But again, if there are questions related to that, I would highly recommend joining the platform interest recall next Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern, as the developer team can answer some more of those questions. But opening the floor for any DeFi protocol-based and liquidity pool-based questions would be great. That's it for now, guys. If you got anything internal.
Okay, thanks, Derek.
Thanks, Derek.
Well, the next TELx meeting is Wednesday, 15th of April. And I believe we got a separate call tomorrow, Derek, not TELx related.
That's the TAN call tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. There was another call another question that came in about DeFi. Will I have to move my money out of the TEL/USD pool on Balancer? Is there going to be a change with Merkl?
well, basically all yet to be discussed internally, and we'll give everyone plenty of notice, whatever's decided. So.
Yeah, I think the thing with Merkl, just for clarity, is it's purely a proof of concept that we're running in parallel. So there will be no need to move anything in the short term. We'll be benchmarking the effectiveness of reward distribution using Merkl as compared to the current process, but it's only a proof of concept. So there's no move to adopt Merkl at the moment, nor will there be for the duration of the evaluation period, which will be minimum of 4 weeks, potentially longer. So, and as Boo said, we'll give as much notice as we can on terms of moving if any liquidity pool is going to be deprecated. There's a governance process to go through on that front. So
yeah, also, but probably also in the future, you don't have to leave your pool and get into a new pool. As far as I know, you can stay in, but there'll be instruction on foreign. But as far as I know, you won't have to leave your pool.
Thank you, Eric. Anything from anyone else?
Sorry, can I just pick up on that, Eric? If we are opening up a new pool, for instance, EUSD with EMXN, then people will need to move. It won't be automatic. They will, if a pool is
no. No, of course, when we have new pools with new tokens, of course you have to move. But when you're in your current pool and the rewards just to move to Merkl instead of the current reward system, I don't suppose you have to. I think that was the question.
Sorry, yeah, I see now. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thanks for clearing that up. Okay.
There's one more question about EMXN specifically. They were asking where they can see kind of the actual use of the MXN pool. I don't know if you guys have that link readily available, but you can also go on the TELx website and just click into, I don't know if anybody can share their screen minus, anyways, there's a few questions. You can click into the pool and it'll take you to that pool, and then you can look specifically at TVL, at volume, and everything else in there. I think what I saw, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, is that the weekly volume was like 160K. Is that right?
157 if you're talking
157.
about DC, EMXN.
Yeah. Yep. So there's 157,000 in volume last week, or this week to date last 7 days, sorry, of in that pool. There's another question: how long are rewards and incentives in the pools last? What's the schedule to change or adjust? Assuming that's a question specifically about how long do you have to claim rewards, and then the second part of that question is there any schedule that's how often can you change or adjust your position? Who wants to take that one?
Sorry, that when you say, well, the rewards,
I'll split it up.
The rewards are ongoing until the change, and again, we'll be notified of any changes. We have an annual budget for rewards that's agreed when the association agrees the budget for the forthcoming year. So we have a total amount of rewards that are available for distribution, and any changes, there will be a governance proposal raised and a process followed. So they'll be ongoing until otherwise notified. If that answers the question from
that was a good time.
From a TELx Council point of view. Yep. And was there a second part to that question in terms of from a user getting rewards? What was the end of that
Yeah,
question?
the question was just what schedule is there to adjust or change, meaning adjust position or change. So maybe you could just say something about balancer and then something about V4. You know, we don't have to get into too much, or give. You can also post the link, which I did. I think Dally did as well. So
Yeah, well, again, any change to the rewards will go through a proposal process, which will be posted on the forum and then voted on. So there is a governance process in place to handle any adjustment to rewards and pools.
I think they might be referring to the 24-hour period on V4 pools. So basically, if you modify your liquidity on a V4 pool, there's less than it's around 24 hours, but measured in blocks. On your V4 position, then you won't be eligible for TELx incentive for that period, i.e. for that week. Around 24 hours. I can get the exact number of blocks because I'll post them in a sec.
The qualifying period. Okay, yeah.
TELx incentive for that period, i.e. for that week. Around 24 hours. I can get the exact.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, on the council, but I don't think there is any qualification period under the Merkl system.
No, not that I know of. No.
But that's one of the things we'll be evaluating is comparing reward distribution against reward distribution on positions, but positions will still have to be subscribed to on TELx. So at the moment, you open a position on, say, base, and you then have to subscribe that position within TELx to qualify for Merkl distribution. That's if we adopt Merkl as the distribution method. You will still have to then subscribe. But what we're evaluating, just to refresh everybody's memory, is at the moment V4 pools, the rewards are purely based on fees. The amount of fees you generate while in range will contribute to rewards. Under the Merkl system, there's more parameters we can play with, such as the amount of token A you provide, the amount of token B you provide, and the fees are only part of that equation. So the idea is that Merkl will lead to a more fairer distribution methodology than we've been able to implement with our special hook under V4. So that's what we're kind of evaluating. But in terms of the qualification period, I don't think that will apply under Merkl. But again, we're in this evaluation period, so nothing's going to change short term. It's not like we're implementing Merkl tomorrow or next week. We will be implementing a proof of concept, and then that will run for a period of evaluation. And so when we come to implement it, there will be then adequate notice given for people to decide what they want to do, if that clarifies anything for everybody.
Yeah, I think we said a minimum of 4 weeks, but it's likely to be slightly longer, I guess. Okay. Do we have any further questions on the stream? All good? Okay. Well, next TELx meeting, Wednesday, 15th of April. See you all then. Thanks, everyone.
thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
See you guys.
Later.